Welcome to the Uncensored Self Podcast. I am your host, Ryann Gillen, and this is a space where women who value achievement, success, accomplishment, and wealth, but also crave happiness, love, joy, and deep fulfillment come to remember that we get to have both. Not by doing more, but by being more of who we truly are. In this show, we explore identity, energy, alignment, and embodiment because you didn't come here to follow someone else's rules. You came to right your wrong. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of Ask Ryann on the Uncensored Self. I am here with the amazing Sarah Buhener today, and we're going to have a fun conversation. I think, Sarah, you're starting us off with universal law today, but if you guys didn't listen to my episode specifically with Sarah, not the Ask Ryann ones where she co-hosts with me, but the one where I interviewed her, we talked a lot about intuition, and I don't think I've even told you this, Sarah, but I'm going to tell all of us, I think that might have been the domino that tipped for me when I told you, I want to use less AI in my business. I love the efficiency of AI. My ADHD brain fucking loves how it can take all of my ideas and put it into a list. But it was also kind of zapping my creativity a little bit. And so today, as we're on Slack messages back and forth, she's like, do you want to give me a list of questions? Because in the past, I would have AI create a list of questions or give her questions that I've been answering in coaching calls or what's winding up in my inbox. And today I was like, let's just go. And she's like, I intuitively felt called to go with universal law. So that's what we're going to do today.
Yes.
Hi.
Well, and I love that. And it's not, hello, and thank you for having me here. I feel like it's not AI is bad or AI is good. But what I was watching you do is have these big concepts, and then sometimes AI is great in expanding that, and sometimes it puts us in a box and censors us more. And so where I want to start today is in the undercurrent of your podcast and of all of your content, you talk about universal law. And I would love to hear in your words, what is universal law?
So when I refer to universal law, the way they were taught to me is they are the laws that govern the universe. Right? Universal laws, they're the laws of the universe. Some people refer to them as the laws of nature. Some people will tell you it's like the Hermetic principles. It's actually kind of interesting. A lot of people in my study of universal law, there's a lot of different descriptions and definitions of it. So when I talk about the universal law, it's more the ones related to Hermetic principles, which is theoretically known for being the most historic, right? The one that's the farthest back, the one that's I try to think of the word that I'm looking for. And there are 7 of them. I cannot tell you them off the top of my head, but they start with the law of mentalism and the law of one and all of that. So the way when I was doing my work with Stacy in the Truth Teachers, there were 12 universal laws that she taught me that we worked in, which starts with the law of divine oneness. Right? The idea that everything is connected, right? Every thought, action, and event connects the whole. So that's a big one. I talk actively about the law of vibration. Everything is energy, right? I also talk about the law of attraction, right? Like attracts like. What you put out, you put back. But there's the perpetual transmutation of energy. There's cause and effect. There's relativity. But they're all just different ways that govern the universe, if you will. That's the way that I view them. That's the way that I see them. Have I found anybody been this is definitively them? It's all just a great big old argument. I think of it like the argument of the way people argue about the Bible, right? Are all the books of the Bible here? Yes, no, maybe. Are all these universal laws legit? I view them the same way. But it is there's 12 that seem to be pretty agreed upon. Again, in the Hermetic principles, there's 7. Some people will give you a list of 22. I don't think that's true. But they go back to, again, laws that govern the universe, laws that are standard, laws that are, it doesn't matter what you do, they just work.
Right. I love that. You know what it reminds me of is when I talk about astrology and human design, I don't want it to be prescriptive. It's not because I'm a Virgo sun, I have to do this, or I'm a projector, so I have to do this. It's more okay, here's the law of vibration, which says that everything is an energy, right? So if you're at this frequency, you're going to attract people at this frequency or things at this frequency versus here. And so playing with it, it's playing with the energy helps us kind of test the theory.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So when you think about the evolution of, you could pick one if you want, but the laws of the universe and integrating that and embodying that in your life and business, what are some practical, tangible ways you've worked with these laws on a day-to-day basis?
So I will say the law of vibration is probably the one that I work on. I work on my energy the most. So I'm going to tell you that I work on law of vibration the most. I understand that I am an energetic being. So in my life, day to day, practically, I work on my energy every day. right? That is the one that it's like, what's the one thing, in the book, The One Thing, I think is what it's called. It's like, what's the one thing that makes everything else easy and irrelevant? If you manage your own energy, everything else, everything else is good. So in
Yeah.
a practical day-to-day life, what does that look like? So when I wake up in the morning, like before my eyes open, I will immediately get into like a beautiful feeling of like gratitude and abundance, like, just excited
Yes.
about the day. And I just like really, I will start in the morning, before I get out of bed, before my brain can hijack me and tell me all the other things. And I can remember that argument I had yesterday and that thing that didn't go the way that I wanted it to. I immediately start with, I'm in my house, in my beautiful home that I love, that I manifested next to a man that I love. This morning I woke up, my kids are here, the kids are in the house. There's usually a
Yeah.
dog in my bed somewhere, like we recently bought new bedding and new sheets and, all the things to make the room feel a certain way. So I just like really revel in the magic of my life before I get out of bed. That's just like one really practical way that I do that. What are some other things I do? I do breath work all the time. This one, and I've been, Sarah, you know this, I tend to downplay it, right? Well, I'm like, you should do breath work. And I'm like, no, like you should be breathing intentionally all the time. It'd be so much better for your body if you did. Not just your
Yes.
energy, but your body,
Yeah.
right? Not just your energy, but your entire body. There's so much data and research. I'm giggling because I was on the Free and Rich call and I was talking about, she was like, why breath work? And like 4 minutes later, I came up for air and she was like, you know a lot about breathing. I was like, I do. I do know a lot about breathing. But to me, breath work regulates our nervous system,
Right.
right? And our nervous system, law of vibration, our nervous system, that's why we have an EEG and an EKG, right? Like it's what would be picked up if somebody were to, put the ditties on your head and track what's going on in there. It's what's firing. So when your nervous system is regulated, you can more easily choose where you put your energy and your attention, your reactions, your responses in that way. So breath work every day. That is a great way I work on my energy. I do my identity practice every single day, all of the time. If you haven't downloaded that, you should. It's in the show notes. It's completely free, but that is a huge way where I work on my energy every single day. So I spend a lot of time taking care of my energy. Like that's the one universal law
Hmm.
that you're like, I could master one. And it's not even mastery, right? It's just really understanding that everything is energy. And if what I'm attracting, and it, like law of vibration and law of attraction go hand in
They
hand.
do.
But I find if you take care of the law of vibration, you have to worry less about the law of attraction, right? The law of
Yes.
attraction is just always going to do what the law of attraction is going to do. So if I take care of my energy, I'm always going to be an energetic match to what I want. So that's
I
kind
love
of
that.
I could go on for days, but like
Yeah.
that's the piece that I work on the most.
I love that. So then, if somebody would ask you, what is the law of attraction and how does that show up specifically with, people say, okay, I worked on my energy, but I'm still attracting the clients I don't like, or I'm not attracting anything, or I'm still not getting the results I want. So, how does law of attraction help us understand why that is?
So here's how my understanding, like when people say, and this is annoying, and I'm sorry that I'm saying this, but it's true. You don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. Okay. So this is how the law of vibration and the law of attraction work together. Most people think, well, if I just want money and I think positive thoughts about money and there will be amazing things about money, money will come to me, right? In the art of like trying to manifest a thing. This is how a lot of people teach manifestation. What is wrong with that? Not wrong. The reason why you're not getting the money, despite all the money work that you have done, is because you are, let's go to the law of divine oneness, right? Like
Right.
you are a whole. You can't just work on one area of your life. You can't just clean up your relationship with money. And guys, y'all know this is my thing. Like I spent years fixing my relationship with money and not taking care of my energy day to day. So I think a lot of people, if you understand the law of attraction, you're like, Ryan, I'm thinking positive thoughts about clients or I'm thinking positive thoughts about the business, but you're still going to happy hour 3 times a week and bitching and moaning and complaining about the market and how hard it is and how clients are assholes and how people have unrealistic expectations. And you're arguing with your spouse and you're snapping at your kids and you're sleeping like shit. And, you never take any time to take care of yourself. It doesn't matter that you sit down for 20 minutes a day and think about how much you love money.
Right. Well, that's so
So
good.
I think for a lot of people, that's where they get really frustrated and it actually causes a lot of distrust in the laws of the universe, right? There's a lot of people that very much distrust, myself being one of them at one point in time. So there's no shade here. Like,
Right.
very much was like, if it's that easy, why does the world look the way that it looks? And it's like, oh,
Right.
it's because we spend so much of our time reporting the circumstances of our lives instead of intentionally creating what we want. And so we stay in
Yes.
energetic to it. So that's why I say law of vibration. I spend the most time on that because I understand that it's my frequency all of the time, not just my frequency about money, not just my frequency about work, not just my
Yes.
frequency about certain things. It's my frequency as a whole. My radio dial is tuned in all of the time. So if I
Right.
do money work, but I still think that people are stupid and trying to get one over on me, my business isn't going to thrive.
Right. One thing the word thing, one concept I really enjoy from the Free and Rich Mastermind is how you also talk about thoughts and emotions. So if we're like,
Mhm.
I am this person, I'm being this
Yeah.
person, but then we don't expect to actually get there, or we
Yeah.
don't have our standards there, or if we secretly fear it's not going to work, like all of that that's in the background is a part of it. And
Of
the
course.
biggest shift, and I'd say the last 2 or 3 months for me, is the more I've become aware of that and
Yeah.
just found out what's actually true here and
Yeah.
like challenged and rewrote those beliefs, everything's just coming in more easily. So I
Mhm.
just think this is so fun. So good.
It is so fun. And it is like, I think for some people, I've coached a lot of clients on this lately who like money is their thing. And again, they've done money work, but it's
Hmm.
actually the distrust of ease, right? Because it's, that
Interesting.
they struggle with, because like you just said, it's easier. Because again, when we try to just, the way that Stacy coached me on this is like, you can't just leave like your right arm behind,
Ah,
right?
that's a good way to think of that.
So, like, you're tuning up money and you're tuning up clients and you're thinking positive thoughts and all this other stuff. But, like I said, there's still one area of your life. For me at the time, it was my marriage. This is actually how she coached me
Hmm.
when I was still married, before I got a
Yeah.
divorce, was like, there's this area of your life that is not aligned with where you're going.
Right.
And you can't
Right.
just ignore that and work on the business. Like, that's
Right.
not the way it works. It's
Right.
not, it's not like a genie in a bottle. Like, it's the entire energy behind it. But like I said, for some people, if we just work on money and we don't work on what happens when it's easy, like, do you
Hmm.
freak out? Come to you easily? Do you feel like the other shoe is going to drop? Do you feel like you have to reciprocate? Are you uncomfortable? Do you feel guilty? Right? Like, those
Yeah.
things can put static in your signal as much as thinking money is hard to make.
Yeah. You know what? That reminds me of a question I hear a lot in both of our worlds is there's so many women out there that are like, I want to get from here to here,
Yeah.
but I can't work any harder. I don't have the time, the space, the energy, the
Mhm.
money to work harder. What would you say? What do you say to that?
I would say that hard work is not actually what's gonna create you the results.
How so?
Can you tell me more? Let's go here. So
Yes.
I've been talking a lot about hard work lately. It's been a very hot topic, one I don't think I realized, and this is why I love this work so much, guys. Like, you can study marketing until you're blue in the face. Sarah and I, between the two of us, have like a fucking PhD in marketing. And
Yes.
there was just no way in the world I was gonna know that that was the thing that was gonna jack my audience the most, was hard work. I assumed it was money. I assumed it was
Hmm.
stuff because that's what I see. But actually, what's really getting people right now is when I tell you you don't have to work hard. And what's wild is people want to fight for their limitations like you can't fucking believe. They just want to tell me, but I worked so hard to get here, Ryan. What do you mean the hard work isn't required? So the first thing I say to somebody who's like, I want to double my revenue, but I don't have space for anything else. Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to create capacity in an emotional and an energetic perspective, right? Like I told you, ask me, what do I do to take care of my energy every day? I get up and I think on purpose really intentionally. If that space doesn't exist in your life, that's the first thing that has to happen. So the way that I teach the creation process is through the energy game, right? Identity, thoughts, feelings, actions. Like who you think you are, what you think, how you feel, how you show up is the simplest way we can describe identity. Notice action is the last step, the last step.
Hmm.
So, but most people make it the first step, right? Most people spend 80% of their time on the last step and the most insignificant step of the process. So that's why when you think I want more clients or I want more money or I want a new job, I'm going to have to work more. I'm going to have to take more action. And that's actually only true if everything else isn't lined up.
That makes sense.
Meaning
Doing
you're
this
not
work.
Yeah, you're not operating from the identity of your creator identity or the identity, your free and rich identity, the version of you who has your dream life. So you're not operating from that space. One, and then your thoughts are not aligned with that version of you. Right? You think that it's your hard work that's creating results. You can't think hard work creates results and then ask for ease.
True. True.
So with my clients, we start with identity first. That's why, I do the identity practice and the identity audit and the identity work. I have three, I have three different opportunities before you get to the free and rich mastermind to really work on your identity, because that's the key part, right? If
Right.
I often, you guys know this, I talk about it in every podcast. I'm running a $10 million business doing only things that I love, even though my P&L doesn't say that yet, right?
Right.
I think, feel, and act like that person all of the time. And
Mhm.
so if I'm running a $10 million business that I only want to do things I love, all of my thoughts, all of my ideas, everywhere I take action is from that perspective. So why would I work hard?
Right.
Right? I don't want that.
Right.
It's not what I want. I want a hard life. So I'm just not going to work hard. But like I
Yes.
said, for most people that get stuck and they believe that it's the doing of more that's going to create the things. But when we create emotional capacity and we create mental capacity and we create physical capacity and we create energetic capacity, then we can do more with less. And that is
Yeah.
identity works free. I teach capacity. I teach all of that in
Yes.
identity.
It's the most interesting thing for me at first is I just did it when I was working.
Yes.
And then now it's like that free and rich version of me is what am I doing in the evenings? What kind of food am I
Right.
consuming? What
Yes.
clothing am I wearing? And I didn't go spend $1 million on clothes, but I'm like, well, I would
Right.
wear
Right.
I would do this. I would juice apples more. So it's
Yeah.
little tangible things.
Yeah.
It's been such a game changer. It's been so cool.
I agree, and I've had to do that. I'm still in the process of doing that in my evening
Yeah.
routine. Like, I still fall asleep on the couch with the boys watching TV way too frequently, and I know it. Like, I know, I was like, "This is not it," and I'm getting better about, like,
Mhm.
sitting outside and grabbing my journal and doing that, because I don't it's actually funny, before I recorded this, I recorded next week's podcast. I don't know which one you guys are gonna see first, but I talked about power leaks and wanting them being our
Yes.
consumption, right? Like,
Yes.
wanting them being what we consume and, like, really violent stuff and really negative stuff and things of that nature,
Mhm.
because it all impacts us, right? That
It
goes back to the
does.
law of divine oneness. Like, we are all
Right.
one. The idea that we think we can watch a wildly violent television show and not be impacted by that on a physiological level is crazy.
Right. Oh, so good. Okay, I have one last question because I've been watching your comments and I see a lot of people saying when it comes to living a life that's centered around feeling good, about
Yeah.
being free and rich, I've seen well, what about people who are broke? What about people who have trauma? What about those people who are struggling?
Mhm.
It can't just be, it kind of comes back to the easy, but like, what about those people where they can't just feel better?
Yeah. My a really honest answer to that is that's not my work. I am not a therapist. I am not a counselor. If you have trauma, if there's something like that going on in your life, you should probably go see a
Hmm.
psychologist, a psychiatrist, a counselor, a therapist, like whatever is best for you. So I say that a lot. But what about the people of the world who are just suffering? Well, let's say it's not trauma. The people who are things just aren't going well for them. It just feels like they just keep getting kicked in the teeth. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound insensitive, but it is the law of the universe at play. It's why when you wake up in the morning and you're pissed off and you're frustrated, and then, Courtney Benson says that all the time. She's like, you never get your pocket stuck on the doorknob when you're in a good mood, right? Like, that doesn't happen.
That's
Like,
hilarious.
it is, and it's just this thing, and guys, it happened to me. It's literally how I went from making $1 million to filing for bankruptcy, because the universal law works all of the time,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So if you continually feel broke, it is because you continually vibrate at the energy of broke. You think broke thoughts, you feel broke feelings, so you're broke. And I'm not just talking about your bank account balance, because I know women with fuck tons of money in the bank who still identify as broke, right? And it's
Hmm.
because of the way they feel about the money. It's the way they spend their money. It's the way they hoard their money. It's the way they bring their money in. It's the way they let their money make them feel a certain way about themselves. So I think it's a completely different thing. But like, and I don't want to say it doesn't apply that nobody listening to our show has gone through trauma, but my assumption is that most of you have gone to therapy. You have processed your trauma. You've dealt with it. And again, Sarah, you've obviously gone through some shit in your life. I
Hmm.
don't say any of this to be insensitive. I've learned that, like, I'm going to stay in my lane. And this is a big part of my identity work, because another version of me would be heartbroken about some of the comments I've been getting lately, and the people who are just like, what about the people? Like, one girl literally asked me, said, what about the people who hate their life? And I was like, I have a lot of compassion for those people, but that's not who I create content for.
Right.
I don't,
Hmm.
and it's not there's somebody out there that is their calling. It's
Hmm.
not mine. And so
Yes.
I choose to stay in my lane. Like, there are people out there who have trauma, who terrible things have happened in their life, and I have so much compassion, and that's not my lane. You should
Hmm.
absolutely positively seek out the either medical or professional help that you need. I mean, Sarah, you used to work in this line of work,
Hmm.
but I do, but I will still go so far as to say that universal law works 100% of the time. So if you constantly talk about how much you hate your life and how hard your life is, whether it is factually or not, that is
Mhm.
the experience you will create. Because
Right.
that's the thing. Like, I think this one specifically meant people like who are genuinely suffering, people who can't put a roof over their head, people who can't feed you. And I don't think most of the people listening to this show that's the case.
Right.
But there are some people who vibrate at that frequency.
Right. You know what it reminds me of is when I was a therapist, I went to my therapist and I remember just crying because I had the realization in my early 20s, surprised that I'm not going to fix everything, which I know
No
you
shit.
would love. Right. But it was what I came back to was when we are our best selves and when we take care of our energy and we show up in what our soul is called to do, what we know we're here to do, there's a positive ripple effect. So it
Yes.
doesn't feed starving children, but somebody out there, maybe, I work with a lot of business owners that do help people or donate money to
Yes.
places. So I don't think suffering is going to fix the world. Like joining in suffering doesn't fix the world. And I don't mean that in a minimizing way, but I mean the more we can
Right.
stay in the energy game and have a positive impact, the more there's a wave that we're creating. And that's all we can do.
Yeah.
So,
Because
yeah,
universal law works 100% of the time.
right, right,
If world suffering created peace, the world wouldn't look the way that it did, right? Like
right.
Abraham says all the time, we created a war on crime and a war on drugs and a war on sex trafficking. And the only thing that has happened is these things have gotten bigger.
Yep.
Why? Because we keep fighting them. So
Yes.
it's not ignore it, it's advocate for what you want, right? We talk about the
Right.
war on drugs, like we want people to be healthy. We want people to be, we want people to, be able to handle their emotions without turning to substances. Like that's what we're
Mhm.
advocating for. And I believe
Yes.
strongly exactly what you just said. It's collective consciousness,
Mhm.
right? Collective consciousness is real. And every single one of us is our own individuation of that consciousness, the law of divine oneness, right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
if I take care of me and my energy, and everybody who comes into me experiences that. And Sarah takes care of her and her energy, and everybody who does that, and all of my clients, and then all of their clients. Like you said, we raise collective consciousness. And the
Yes.
more that we raise collective consciousness and advocate for what we want instead of fight what's happening, the more we change the world. Like
Exactly.
that is my heart of
That's it.
hearts. More conscious women running conscious businesses, making choices from their own personal power. Only fix, I mean, I do believe that's how we fix all of those things.
Yes. I
But I
agree.
don't think that going to protests and fighting the man is actually effective, because if it was going to be, it would have changed things by
Right. Right.
because, I mean, nobody's fighting harder than people are fighting harder right now against injustices in the world. And
Exactly.
again, it took me a long time to realize that. So, like, if this is the first time you've had this conversation and it still doesn't feel good in your gut, like, I get it, right? Like, it took me a long time to realize that the only way that I can actually impact the horrible things that are happening in the world and the injustices of the world and the people who aren't, because again, we're not on social media. So I'm gonna say this one too. Like, we have the resources to feed fighting, starving children.
Mhm.
We could feed the entire world right now. I believe that in every ounce of my being. There's
Oh, yeah.
nothing you can say to prove otherwise. We choose not to.
Mhm. Yep. And so
Sarah's like,
then the
we're not
next
conversation today,
well,
right?
no,
No, she
it's
can do
just
more.
because then it's now what, right? We can stay in this energy of powerless or we can like it
Yeah,
comes back to is like, what am I going to create today? What am I going to focus on today? And
right.
what positive change can I make?
Yeah.
And there's
And
a
for
tipping
most of
point.
us,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. But like, we have to tip the tipping point one domino at a time.
Right.
And the problem is we're trying to go to domino 4,226 instead of domino 1 and then domino 2, and you guys know the way dominoes work, right?
Right.
But we've got to do the work to tip the dominoes.
Right.
And I mean, I think that it's one soul at a time, one
Mhm.
consciousness at a time, one whatever you believe in, but that is the law of divine oneness.
Yes.
The
Oh,
more
so
the
good.
better I feel, the better that I take care of myself, the better work that I do, the more resourced that I am, the better I take care of myself and take care of my business and take care of my clients and take care of my kids and my family and my house and all the other things, then I now have the energy to go out and make an impact.
Right.
Because when you are exhausted and at max capacity and feeling like you're treading water, even though you make, multiple six figures, this is going to sound bitchy, but like you're not making an impact either, friend,
Mhm.
because you don't have the capacity to.
Right. So good.
Mm. Anything else?
Yay. I
Okay.
feel like that's good for now. I'm curious to hear what this stirs up for people. And
Yeah.
please send in your questions because
Yes. I want
it's
to hear them.
so much fun when we get like really good questions in.
Yeah.
So,
Or
yes.
even just like comments on social media if you're following on social and that sort of stuff. That's where we're sourcing these ideas from is
Yes.
what you guys are reacting to, what you're excited about, conversations I'm having in the comments, conversations I'm
Mhm.
having in DMs. So feel free to reach out. This is
Yes.
Sarah and I geek out on this shit.
Yes,
So
we do.
thank you, Sarah. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Uncensored Self podcast. If this conversation cracked something open for you, trust that that's the work. And share this episode with a woman in your life who's ready to stop performing and start creating. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave a review. It helps this message reach the women who need it most. Remember, you're the creator. The rules are yours. And your uncensored self, she already knows what to do. Keep leading, keep listening, keep becoming.